Alright, welcome back to Adobe Photoshop CC. In the last tutorial we discovered and sort of explored the free transform tool with this hand here. We're going to further go into the features of the free transform. I'm going to do this by simply duplicating this layer. So I'm going to right click and duplicate layer, click OK, and if I grab the move tool here, you'll see I have another hand. Now what I'm going to do immediately is go into the free transform by hitting Control T or Command T on the Mac, and then simply right clicking anywhere in the middle here and going to flip horizontal, and that will literally be like two hands meeting at this point. Now you might be interested in trying to hit return and then do some other features, but what you want to realize is that when you warp, do any of these kind of transformations, you're essentially just, it's destructive. You're destroying the pixels that are there. You're causing aberrations and weird artifacts by the stretching and pushing and pulling if you tend to warp the image. So right now all we've done is flipped it, so I could technically hit return, but I am going to do some warping. So I'm going to go to the warp options here by clicking on this little guy up here, this little widget. You can also right click and just choose the warp command, and that brings up these sort of little boxes where you can grab a corner and kind of do a custom warp where you can grab individual parts. And for this, actually for the hand, there's some nice things you could do. You could adjust the fingers a little bit by doing this, but it's not going to give you super custom sort of warping until you select less of the object. So what I would prefer to do is to actually jump out of the custom warp and deal with some of the presets. So up here on the top there's the custom warp, which I've just been messing with, which again you can grab these little handlebars to mess with, or you can click anywhere inside here to warp. But you can go in here and try out these presets. So there's like the arc, for example. And with these presets, they kind of look like the shape, and basically they just have one control where you click and drag. So I'm clicking and dragging to create this sort of arc here. And you can kind of play around with any of these that you like. The bulge, for example, as I squish or expand the image here. So any of these that you like, the flag is a very interesting one, you know, where you get this kind of wavy quality to it. So you can definitely try each of these out. I'm going to choose the arc here, and I am going to arc it a little bit, but not quite so extreme. I'm actually going to arc it a little bit downwards, perhaps. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to arch just a little bit back like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm not going to hit return. I'm going to click on the little icon here to escape out of the warp so that I'm in the free transform mode. So again, the idea here is that you're able to adjust one thing and then manipulate into another. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this down a tiny bit, because by doing that arc it kind of made the image a little bit bigger. So I'm going to grab a corner here and hold shift and do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead at this point. I could hit return or enter on the Mac, and that would complete my transformation, which is pretty much what I want to do because I want to further manipulate the hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my lasso tool and actually select just the hand by dragging a selection around that, making sure to go through this black area here, and again using that hotkey of Control T or Command T on the Mac to transform my selection, and then right click and choose the warp command. At this point, this will give me a little bit more idea of how to adjust the fingers here, but notice what's happening here. We're having an issue because there is a layer mask. So what I have to do is hit return and undo basically by hitting Control Z or Command Z on the Mac. And before I can apply any transformation here, I have to right click and apply layer mask. Now I can go into the free transform mode by hitting Control T or Command T and go to warp, and now we won't have that strangeness that was happening before. I can actually manipulate these individual points however much I want. Now I'm just kind of messing around a little bit to see how, you know, I may want to adjust this. I'm not really crazy about this, so I may go back to none, bring it back to its original state. And I think what I'm going to do is actually deselect some of this. I don't want everything to be in here. So with the lasso tool again selected, I'm just going to hit click on the lasso and hit don't apply. And then I'm going to hold Alt or Option to subtract some of this. So I think what I'm going to do is subtract basically this bottom fingers here. And I want to make sure I get that little bit right there. There we go. Because what I want to do essentially, and I'm going to subtract a little bit more there, I want it to sort of rotate in from this pivot here. So again, I'm going to hit that Control T or Command T on the Mac. I'm going to grab this point and move it to right here so that it pivots around this point, and I'm going to rotate downwards just so it has a little different look and feel than the other hand. Then I'm going to hit Enter or Return and then hit Control D or Command D on the Mac to deselect. Now I have a custom warp of this hand, which makes it a little bit different than this one, and I could further add different sort of effects to it. But as you can see, as I zoom in here especially, you'll notice it's a little bit fuzzier. This happens with warping. There is a little trick that can sometimes help out, and that is to apply a Sharpen filter. So I'm going to go to the filter menu, go down to Sharpen, and choose just the Sharpen command. And just like that, it brought back some of the crispness that it had before. Now I am getting a little bit of residue up here. That is from the layer mask before. So I could open up, and since I applied that layer mask, just simply select the eraser tool and kind of go through here and just kind of erase these little bits of extra stuff. I might be able to see it easier by holding on Alt or Option on this layer and then turning on perhaps the background here. And now you can see this little white area along here. It's just easier to see in terms of erasing just extra junk here. So I'm going to hold Alt or Option and basically turn on everything at this point and bring everything back to there. So that's it for the continuation of the free transform tool in this tutorial. I hope you've had fun exploring the possibilities. Until next time, see you soon at Adobe Photoshop CC. Cheers!